Welcome, welcome, my kin, on this glorious spring morning. It's quite lovely out there. Do you happen to know spring's favorite pickle? Spring's favorite pickle? Come on, you can get this. The daffodil. That's one way to start, isn't it? As we gather today, we give thanks for the community gathered here in the sanctuary, and to those of you on the live stream today, welcome. We are grateful at this particular time when so much of our world seems divided and at odds, to have a space where we come together in all of our diversity and in all of our unity to be the body of Christ. We give thanks that life is the gift that we are given. So we gather to celebrate the glories and the mysteries and the beauty of life together. Let's take a deep breath in and let it out. And in, and out, and in, and out. We continue our series today, A Place to Call Home. And we have a special guest with us. I'll say a little bit more during that time from Westman Immigration Services. It's just another way we seek to be engaged as a community of faith with the larger community around us. The scriptures of the Easter season speak time and time again of the community of faith, the community of Jesus. A community that sought to love one another and honor one another as kin. So today we explore what it means to always have room for one more, both in our physical and in our spiritual lives. As we gather, let us join together in our theme song, There Is Room for All, and let us rise in body and spirit as we sing. Standing, I invite you to continue to remain standing. With our focus on home, we draw from the inspiration and the wisdom of this place, Manitoba, land of the Great Spirit. So let us join in our four directions prayer. You may move in body or in spirit, in your mind's eye, as we join together in prayer. Let us face the east. In the east, the rising sun and gentle breezes. We honor each new day and new beginnings made possible by the breath of our Creator. May the air we breathe be purified, and may our lives feel that breath of spirit anew. May we receive the gifts of dawning insight and inspiration. Let us turn to face the south. In the south, the place of warmth and light, we honor the gift of fire and all forms of energy. As the sun in the sky makes life possible on earth, we know that God set that sun in its course. We are children cared for in many ways. May we be open as children to receive and share the gifts of food, learning, and creativity. May we share our play and our work with energy and passion. Let us turn and face the west. In the west, in the setting sun and the many forms of water, we welcome the wellspring and flow of God's healing presence. May water be pure and available to all. And may we be sustained and nurtured over the entire face of the earth. May we let go and be cleansed of all that keeps us from living as we were created to be. Let us turn to face the north. In the north, in the mountains and rooted plants, we welcome the wisdom of being present and manifest here on earth. We welcome those who came before us and the ways of living and spiritual wisdom they shared with us. We return to face the light of Christ. May we walk good paths, living on the earth in oneness as siblings, rejoicing in one another's blessings, supporting and caring in one another's sorrows. Holy One, teach us to live as spirit in flesh like Jesus. Amen. Now let us join in our song of praise, Gather Us In. Sorry, forgot my book for kids' time and realized it as we were singing. All right, you've sat down already. Stand back up. So let me tell you, when I sat down with one of our folks that was transitioning a few years ago, they were moving from a Pentecostal community, and they were interested to find out a little bit about our worship life together as United Church people. And I said, well, I think you're going to find it there to be quite a contrast. And we talked a little bit about the differences in worship. And I said, well, you know, what happens in your community? And he said, well, we stand up and sing for about the first 25 minutes. I said, oh, I don't think our folks could stand up for that long. And then, it was kind of off topic here, and I said, and what would the message be that day? And he said, well, everything that we've done wrong during the week. And I said, and people are okay with that? And he said, well, people stick around. And I said, well, I think you'll find a very different ethos in the United Church. As you remain standing, I want to share with you the psalm, and then we're going to pass the peace of Christ, which is why I have us all standing together. Let us join in a contemporary paraphrase of Psalm 22. In every part of the world, there are those who praise you. They form a great congregation of the faithful, and this is their sign. Their poor no longer go to bed hungry. Their weak are protected, their strangers welcomed. God gives life to the forgotten. From the river deltas to the mountaintops, from the rainforests to the ice caps, all nations, all people, all creation live and breathe in praise of their Creator. For in the end, everything comes back to the source. The source of life and love is incarnate in all of life. Fat moles that burrow in the earth and swallows that fly above it. Sleek tuna that swim in the oceans, and steel tankers that furrow the seas, all owe their origin to the source of life. None are self-sufficient. They will all decay into dust, except as they live on in God. As they teach their children about the mystery, their successors will also serve the Creator. Thus, God touches generations waiting to be born, and transcends the tyranny of time. My kin, may the peace of the risen Christ be with you. And also with you. Let us share signs of peace with one another. Peace, Edison. Peace, Kirsten. Peace to you. Peace, Betty.
Not yet? Okay, let me know. We're feeling peaceful. So peaceful.
All right. It is time for our Spirit Kids Club theme time. So we invite children of all ages to make their way up to the chancel steps. Morning, everybody. Come on up. Come a little closer, Maxwell. Come on. Some of you joined us for our Nerf battle night on Friday night, right? And just a reminder that I have some safety glasses in my office that somebody left behind. So if your folks brought safety glasses, not yours, Maxwell? You think they might be mine? Okay, don't let me forget about that, all right? Rafa and Ayumeti and Raquel, why don't you come closer over here? You're so far away over there. Come on, scoot over. Raquel, I love that shirt, sunshine. That's beautiful. All right, and it looks like you're dressed appropriately for us to dance when we sing in a minute, right? Are we gonna dance together? Maxwell says no. All right, so our story today is, just got to turn to the right one here. Big, juicy grapes. See that grapevine there? Big, juicy grapes. Do any of you have decorative grapes at home? Like grapevines at home? We've got a bunch of them around our yard, and they're beautiful in the fall when they turn from green to kind of burgundy. All right, big, juicy grapes. This is from the story of John, chapter 15. Jesus liked to be outside. I like to feel the sun. It's so nice and warm. I like the breeze when it blows my hair around. I even like the rain when it washes my face. That's why Jesus liked to talk with his friends when they were sitting under a shady tree or on the side of a hill. Jesus had many important things to teach his friends about God. Susanna liked being outside too. It was really fun the day we all sat in the water on the side of the Lake of Galilee. It was such a hot day, but sitting right down in the cool water was so much fun. I remember, said Andrew. There was a vineyard right beside the lake. People were working on the grapevines. They were tying them to posts and even cutting some of the vine branches off and throwing them away. Have you ever helped your parents prune things in the yard? Yeah, so some of you know about that. It can be similar. Jesus talked about that, they said. Do you remember, Andrew? If the workers in the vineyard cut off a branch, then that branch would die. In order to live, it has to be connected to the grapevine. The vine gets food and water from the earth, said Andrew. Jesus talked about how the vine sends that food and water to every little branch. That leaves, even the tiny little branches, soak up the warm sunshine. Then the whole grapevine uses the food and water and sunshine to make grapes. Big, juicy grapes. Grapes are my favorite. God is like a big, strong grapevine. Remember when Jesus talked about that, Andrew? The branches that people cut off and throw away, those branches become dry and useless. They can't make any grapes at all. God wants you and me and everyone else to be part of the grapevine, said Andrew. He spread his arms out wide and started to giggle. Does Jesus want me to grow grapes on the end of my fingers? That would be really weird. Susanna laughed too. Free food, Jaden says. I think Jesus meant that when we live God's way, when we are kind and fair to other people, and when we try to take good care of God's earth, then we are like healthy branches. Then we are growing good fruit, big juicy grapes. Grapes are my favorite too. I just thought of something. Andrew stopped laughing. If you and I are like the branches and God is like the vine, does that mean that God can't grow anything without us? I guess that's right. Susanna stopped laughing too. We need God, and God needs us. That's awesome. All during April and May, we are talking about many different ways that God is using us to bring health and beauty and goodness to all those around us. And in our story from John today, Jesus says, "You're branches, and I and God, we're like the vine." Today, what might we say? Rather than, because we don't spend a lot of time in vineyards, right? We might say God is like the battery of our electric car. Would that be similar, kind of? Divine. You're right. God is divine. Nice. I think Jaden's ready to write another, he's itching to write another story after you wrote the Christmas pet, right? In contemporary language. The story of Jesus today is a reminder that we stay plugged in to our power source. One of the ways that we do that is by coming here today and being with all of our friends and our families and our neighbors, learning together, praying together, growing together. But then, this isn't the end of the process. This isn't what we do here on Sunday mornings, is only important as it energizes us to send us out to our homes and our schools and our neighborhoods to do the work that Jesus talked about. So we plug in, and then we go out and do that good work. That's our good fruit, right? That we have together. And we trust that as we do that, that God is moving in us and through us. And that's why we're singing this song, "Move in Me," just for the next couple of weeks. Now, I went back and looked at our YouTube live stream from last week, and I noticed that the folks out there were moving a lot more than you were. So can we have a little bit of a competition today and see? I know we've had a couple of weeks to do this. Chase is kind of skeptical. Can we see? And I'm going to go back and look on the live stream this week and see who wins. All right? Move in me. Let's rise in body and spirit and join in our theme song. Ready? You got to get your heads down.
Your
was pretty even there. We'll go back and check. All right, you may go to Spirit Kids Club now, or back to be with your family and friends. And we'll see you in a bit.
The story of Philip and the eunuch, and in some ways we can think of the eunuch as an outsider. This story expresses the inclusive love of God for all. All are invited to come home to God because love is simply part of our nature, and love is of God. The invitation to the table this day is as simple as it is every time we make it. When you endeavor to love your neighbor and live in peace with each other, there's always room for you, no matter whether you think you are fit or not, no matter whether you've been coming to church for a long time or not a long time. Welcome home. And now this reading from chapter 8 of the book of the Acts of the Apostles. Later, God's angel spoke to Philip. At noon today, I want you to walk over to that desolate road that goes from Jerusalem down to Gaza. He got up and went. He met an Ethiopian eunuch coming down the road. The eunuch had been on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem and was returning to Ethiopia, where he was minister in charge of all the finances of Candace, queen of the Ethiopians. He was riding in a chariot and reading the prophet Isaiah. The Spirit told Philip, "Climb into the chariot." Running up alongside, Philip heard the eunuch reading Isaiah and asked, "Do you understand what you're reading?" He answered, "How can I without some help?" and invited Peter into the chariot with him. The passage he was reading was this: "As a shepherd led to slaughter, and quiet as a lamb being sheared, he was silent, saying nothing. He was mocked and put down, never got a fair trial. But who can now count his kin since he has been taken from the earth?" The eunuch said, "Tell me, who is the prophet talking about, himself or some other?" Philip grabbed his chance. Using this passage as his text, he preached Jesus to him. As they continued down the road, they came to a stream of water. The eunuch said, "Here's water. Why can't I be baptized?" He ordered the chariot to stop. They both went down to the water, and Philip baptized him on the spot. When they came up out of the water, the Spirit of God suddenly took Philip off, and that was the last the eunuch saw of him. But he didn't mind. He had what he'd come for and went on down the road as happy as he could be. Philip showed up in Azotus and continued north, preaching the message in all the village along the route until he reached Caesarea.
Do you know that after the success of the spring concert last Sunday night, Bernie made the choir come at 9 o'clock this morning for rehearsal? I said, I hope they're getting twice their usual pay. I'm going to invite Enver and Hannah to come on up. And today we're going to have a focus on Westman Immigration Services. And I'm so glad that Enver Naidoo is going to be our guest. Enver, that was one of the things I wanted to ask you about when we met this morning, was how you pronounce your last name. Is that? I got it? Good. Well, have a seat.
Thanks, Greg. I think you got my name correctly, but this often happens in the community. It's Westman Immigrant Services, and most folks call us Immigration Services, so you're not the first one, which is why we now call ourselves WIS, W-I-S, for short. It makes it so much easier.
That's right, WIS, and we see that, in different spaces now, as you've got some new spaces around the Brandon area. So, Enver, you've been the executive director at WIS for about 3 years, right? And I understand that you initially immigrated to Canada from South Africa in the 90s. And I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that experience and how it kind of affects your vision and your mission with WIS.
Absolutely. Firstly, before I start, I just want to say it's a pleasure to be here today, to see all of you. Thank you very much for inviting me in your home and an opportunity to share as well a little bit about the work that we do. So thank you, Craig. And thank you, everybody. It's this May 21st will be 3 years on the job. And it's been an incredible journey. And, when I look back just a little bit on my own experience, having immigrated, I grew up in apartheid in South Africa. If you're not familiar with it, this was institutionalized racism and a number of systemic barriers that impacted me and many others that have lived there. But if I took a look at my own experience, I grew up with a single mom who worked 12 hours a day to raise her kids. She worked as a waitress. And so I consider myself very blessed to be here today because, those challenges of growing up, I call it the DIY upbringing. There could be many circumstances that could have arisen and I may not have been here. But, that's not a unique story. I think, the human condition, many folks face challenges. Some are still facing it today. And I think that, being blessed to be here today, there's an opportunity to use those challenges to really pay it forward and help others. And, with that, there's been a curiosity in the work that I do in terms of who are we helping and how do we help them more, and then who are we not helping, and what do we need to do to make sure that they're not left in a situation that is, that there's resources that could potentially support them. And so through that, we've been unpacking a little bit of the work that we're doing and thinking about, the population groups that we're working with, how do we help them more. But there's also individuals out there that we weren't providing services to at the time. For example, seniors, and such a vulnerable population group. And if you add to that, if you don't speak, English or French, it could be fairly isolating as well. And so we started thinking about, potentially building partnerships like Seniors for Seniors. They do incredible programming. And today, we now have seniors programming, and we do it in partnership in the community. At the time, we didn't have supports for international students, and we look at the growing number of international students at ACC and BU, certainly, adding to the fabric of our society. And the research shows 90% of them want to stay after graduation and eventually get permanent residency. So today we actually have services and programs and supports for international students. Another population group is youth, right? We have been entrenched in the Brandon School Division, such a great partnership, working with them. But we know there's more we can do, both in the schools and within the community. So we've really been thinking a lot about that curiosity in terms of how do we, as social services, how do we not only invest in the symptoms of lack of or the challenges that come with moving to a new country, but also how do we support root cause issues? How do we start building partnerships? How do we develop new programs and services? What influences me a lot is that I think I'm a steward of this work. I think that it's a family value. How do you leave things in better shape than when you found it? And I'm very fortunate to be in a position to do that kind of work. So I'll pause there for a moment, Greg.
Yeah, and I just want to say thanks for correcting me. And you're in good company because folks here are correcting me for what I say all the time. But it is important, right? Because you're not assisting people in the process of immigrating to Canada, right? They do that through a variety of means, and we've been part of some of that work through refugee sponsorship here, through Brandon Refuge. But your focus is once they're here. And I think it hasn't happened as much frequently, but one of the joys of our community of faith is at times we've been able to connect in really creative ways with new immigrants and refugees. One of the things that happened a few years ago was the cooking classes that took place in our kitchen here. So we're really thankful for all of the things that WIS does. We know that the immigrant population in Brandon is growing. And you mentioned international students, and I'm glad that you did, because you just walk around, you walk outside of Knox, and you visibly see and hear different languages being spoken, and we see that there's been an increase in international students at BU. We don't see the ACC folks as much. So, roughly 20% of our population consists of immigrants and refugees in Brandon, and we suspect that that's going to grow with the folks that are coming from Ukraine. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the challenges there as that population continues to expand.
Yeah, it has been challenging. I think particularly, when it comes to immigration, you plan in on moving from one country to another. But for refugees, you don't anticipate this displacement and the rapid, situation of trying to resettle, or in some cases you're waiting to resettle. And so, the term immigrants and newcomers, it's not an homogenous group. The journey, the background, the story, the experience, it's different for everyone. And so for us as an organization and for us as a community, we really need to think about it through that lens and think about how do we meet those individuals and those families where they are, and how do we provide them the supports that's going to be unique to their situation. And it does create some complexity. And I think, some things that we've been doing as an organization is thinking about how do we manage that complexity. It meant change. The environment has changed. If we look at the last couple of years, the number of immigrants that have arrived in Canada, it's been the highest that Canada has ever seen. The same with refugees. And we look, over the next few years, it's going to be at its highest that Canada's ever seen, province has seen, and even Brandon has seen. And so, one of the things that we've been doing is thinking about how do we navigate, how do we change as an organization. We've got offices in Brandon, we also have regional offices in Russell, Verdun, and Cartwright. And so we've been thinking about how do we, better support the communities, and that means, getting out of our buildings. And this is a great opportunity to find out how do we build stronger partnerships. But some of the challenges that we've seen, particularly for immigrants and refugees, language is certainly a big challenge, as we know. And so we offer English classes, daytime, evenings, weekends. We've also started adding classes during the summer and online as well. Because if you're moving, there may be a priority to gain employment, feed the kids, pay the rent, things of that nature. So we adapt in our language classes to ensure that there's supports for those that are looking to gain more proficiency. Employment as well is certainly a big challenge, as we know. Moving to a new country can be extremely challenging, not only emotionally but also financially too. And so some of the things that we've been looking at is how do we assist individuals that may arrive with an incredible amount of experience, education, and an ability to give back. How do we help them build their professional networks? And how do we, that first job may not be their forever job, but how do we also help them find ways to climb up that ladder, whatever that looks like for them? And we know that there's regulated professions, doctor, lawyer, engineer, but we've seen that individuals that don't come through that regulated stream, they are also finding themselves challenged as well when it comes to being overskilled and underemployed. And this is something we need to start unpacking, because that cycle, that downward cycle of lack of income is not going to impact those individuals today, but it's going to impact their kids, and it's going to have generational challenges as well. Summer's coming up right now. If you're just barely getting by, it's hard to think about getting the kids enrolled in summer camp, right? So those are some of the things that we start to think about, how do we explore. And then, I think, we all know this, Canada has amazing opportunities, and it takes time to rebuild your life. If I look around the room, I'm sure there might be somebody here that has moved to Brandon or moved to Manitoba. It took some time, right? And fortunately, with this community here, there's been supports that have helped individuals, but there's other supports out there as well. And so we want to make sure that we get individuals the right supports at the right time. Just again, recognizing the journey of immigrants is not the same, and so the challenges is not the same. And so we need to be adaptive as an organization and adaptive as a community to make sure that folks don't fall through the cracks. And I believe we are doing that. And today is a great example, right? I think just coming together and having these conversations is a great starting point.
Yeah, one of the stories that struck me when we first moved here, my partner teaches at BU and works a lot with the community from Latin America, and we met a middle-aged woman who was a custodian at Pizza Hut, who'd been teaching engineering in, I think it was Honduras. It was in Central America, right? And hadn't had the ability to move from her, professional life there to professional life here. So it's quite and then all of the other issues. We often hear from families that are supporting families back home economically, right? And the families back home don't always recognize the cost of living that happens here. So lots and lots of pressure on folks that are immigrating and our new refugees. I had asked you about some success stories that you could share. Are there any particular ones that come to mind?
That was a great question, and I certainly, it was one that I reached out to my team and put a smile on many of their faces as they started thinking back. But I'll just highlight a few, and I think one was a client that started out as one of our English in our English classes. There was no fluency or proficiency at all in English when they arrived in Brandon, and eventually they went on to start their own business. And today they've got some kids that's going to university, and they actually, the university's their business is thriving, and they're able to afford to pay for their kids to go to university and pursue their own professional career paths, and that's such a great, full circle story. We've also had we work with youth as well, and so we have staff that are integrated in the Brandon School Division. These are settlement workers that provide supports to youth and to the teachers and to the family unit as well. And there was an example of a student that was demonstrating some negative behavior in school, and our team, they looked into that situation and recognized the challenges that individual faced was influenced by their upbringing prior to moving to Canada, and just the differences in them understanding the safety and the supports that's available for them here in Brandon. And so working with that student, working with their family, and working with the teachers, there were supports that was provided, and some of them was getting that student involved in our homework club, and today they're thriving academically, they're socially involved in many activities, and it's a great success story to see, and there's many of those. But the one that I'd probably also highlight for everyone as well is that unless you have indigenous roots, we all have an immigration story, and so the fact that we're all sitting here today is success for all of us as well.
Yeah, you've opened a new, I think what you've labeled a multicultural center next to St. Matthew's in what had been their community hall. Could you tell us a little bit more about your plans for that?
Absolutely. So we know there's incredible spaces around Brandon. I think here as well there's opportunities. We've rented some space, but we in conversations with different multicultural groups, we recognized that there was a gap in the community in terms of a permanent multicultural center, and so that was one of the reasons we looked into this space. The other thing is that with the growing number of immigrants and newcomers, and there was an opportunity to do more programming more regular programming, not only for those clients, but also to connect them with community. And so we started looking for space, and this incredible partnership with the St. Matthew's Cathedral allowed us to not only have a space that was operational on day one, but a space that we could share back with these multicultural groups, share back with the community, and so that it allows that capacity building for different multicultural groups, but also gives us an opportunity as well to increase the amount of programming that we offer, for youth, for families, to bring community together. I know you talked about the cooking classes. That was a little bit before my time, but that might come back. And so it's a chance to create some fun opportunities as well to bring community together. And we're quite excited about that. The one area that we are looking at as well with that space, and these numbers are very conservative. I believe it's at least a 400 kid wait list for childcare. Very conservative numbers. And it's at least a 2-year wait list before you're even able to find yourself, navigating that. So imagine if you moved from country X to Brandon, you're not even on that wait list. And this is a huge gap for our community and for those individuals and families, because once those kids get to school age and you've been out of the workforce for X number of years, it even compounds because now it's challenging for you to get back into employment. So again, a real root cause issue that has a multitude of negative challenges for individuals, families, and the community. We do need more daycare, and so we're looking at the downstairs space of that cathedral, not the cathedral, the community center, to turn it into $10 a day daycare. So we're working with the province on funding applications, and that's going to have huge opportunities for individuals, families, and the community as well. So the space, again, in partnership with St. Matthew's Cathedral, presents today immediate opportunities. We've seen some great programming coming out of it. I think the Multicultural Festival, you guys had the Philippine Pavilion here. The Mauritius Pavilion was hosted at this space. But I think once we can get that daycare up and running, it's going to have longer-term implications to support community as well.
Great, that's very exciting. I know that was one of the things that we hit immediately when we moved here in '07, was that wait list. We had a 4-year-old at home, right? And I think just on the BU daycare list, there were 100 families on that wait list, So that's been consistent over a lot of years here. So that's great to hear that plans are in the work for that. I mentioned to you, that Brandon Knox has been active in supporting refugees and new immigrants in Brandon. Is there anything that you can see that we could do as a community to address some of the areas, the gaps, and some of the challenges that we're facing in Brandon right now?
I think this type of opportunity is great, right? The challenges that exist for immigrants and newcomers, they don't live in a vacuum. Some of those challenges exist for community at large. And so if we can come together and think about how do we collaborate, how do we partner, how do we better understand what some of those opportunities are. At the end of the day, there's no perfect, but our hope is that together we can progress more. More of this, and these types of conversations do happen quite regularly, but I'm appreciative that I'm here today, and I've learned a lot in just conversation before I came up and sat down. So I think that more of these will help us address some of those challenges. I also think that from a community lens as well is just, again, immigrants and newcomers is not a homogenous group. So if we can really try and understand who we're talking about and who we're not talking about, and look at it through that lens, it means that we're going to get the right supports to the right people at the right time.
Great. Well, unfortunately, I think that's about the end of our time, but I want to thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you and all of your staff at Westman Immigrant Services for that work. I know that folks here are very appreciative, and we look forward to continuing to be plugged into new initiatives that you have and being supportive in any way that we can.
I appreciate it, Greg. Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Storytelling is a powerful way to preserve and share history. The theatre performance Bunk Number 7 does just that. Bunk Number 7 shares the true story of 6 boys rioting against the mistreatment and many forms of abuse they received at Edmonton Indian Residential School in St. Albert, Alberta, in the early 1960s. Written by the late Nisga MLA Larry Guno, the play is based on its own experience at the residential school and named for his bunk number. The cast features Indigenous youth and young adults, offering a powerful way for the cast and audiences to learn and share the story of cultural resilience. In November 2021, the play premiered at Raven Theatre in British Columbia to a full audience. With overwhelming support, the performers went on a tour of northwestern BC to share the transformative journey. Performances in fall 2023 were once again met with a great support. Your gifts to mission and service open opportunities for storytelling to move forward in an impactful and powerful way. Thank you for your generosity.
Thanks, Lynn. We move now to the prayers of the people, and I would ask if you have a prayer that you would like to share today. Everybody's ready for brunch. Not here. It's got to be somewhere else. Sorry. All right. Let's join together in prayer. Holy One, may we remain connected with the spirit and energy of the ministry of Jesus when we advocate and agitate for peace and reconciliation, when we share hope in the midst of turmoil, when friendship finds loneliness. May we bear good fruit. May we remain connected with the spirit and energy of the ministry of Jesus when we share expressions of worth to those outside of a job, encouragement to those who have been in accidents, dawning light in the darkness of depression or mental health concerns, staying power when pain is a daily reality, patience when illness is long-term, gentle advice when a person doesn't know where to turn, and sustained listening when a loved one has passed. We pray for those we know who are ill, those who are in need of your healing touch. May we bear good fruit. Holy One, may we remain connected with the spirit and energy of the ministry of Jesus when we say we are sorry, when we link hands with others for the common good, when we are done with apathy, when we take up the just cause, when we learn to appreciate beauty and express our love and our concern through public policy advocacy. Today we remember that Jesus is the vine and we are the branches, and we will bear good fruit. Amen. It's time for our song, The Journey, and as is often our tradition here when we sing Draw the Circle Wide, I'm going to invite you to make a circle around the perimeter of the sanctuary and make sure to include everyone. I'll invite the choir to come on up, and let's form a circle as we draw the circle wide. you sound so good, and isn't it wonderful to look around and see all of these faces rather than just the backs of folks' heads? We didn't join in a circle during Lent when we sang this together, and I know a few people said, "Come on, Craig, we got to sing that again," and draw the circle wide, literally. So it's good to do that. Just a few announcements for you today. Remember that on Thursday we have a gathering here at Knox from 10 to 3:30, talking to our neighbors. Everyone is invited to attend. We'll be gathering United Church folks from across southwestern Manitoba here. So come and join us. Bring a bag lunch. There'll be music and worship and discussion, and it'll be a grand time together. Remember that this coming Sunday is our congregational meeting. I expect that it'll be fairly brief. We'll have a report from our nominations committee, and we'll have the report from the review of our 2023 operating expenses. So we'll have an abbreviated gathering together here in this space, and then we'll remain here for that meeting. It's also the Sunday that we recognize volunteers here at Knox. So we're going to use that hats off liturgy that we developed a few years ago. So if you have a funny hat to wear on Sunday that you can take off in recognition of all of our volunteers, don't forget to bring that with you. All right, Betty Kelly has an announcement for us.
Okay, I'm going to go up just a bit so that hopefully everyone can see me. Craig's already announced and mentioned about the cluster gathering on Thursday. I just wanted to mention that this is so not a meeting. So if you weren't somebody who went to the old presbytery meetings and you're saying, it's not for me, this is not a meeting. Please come, and if your schedule is full, but you've got part of the day, come just for the morning or come just for the afternoon. We want to hear and welcome you into the conversation about what's happening, not just here, but across the whole area. All those little communities that were our homes before we ended up here at Knox in this new wonderful home. Building on that, the second part of my short announcement is more about the barbecue next Tuesday. So not this Tuesday, but a week Tuesday is our second annual neighborhood community picnic or barbecue. It's a barbecue. It'll be great fun. It was a success last year. There were the pictures. Funny story, as I started to get anxious just the day of about, oh my gosh, there's so much to do and we've got to get this all set up, Maureen Cobb said to me, don't worry, Knox folks are great. We're a family. People will just make it happen. And that's what happened. So I'm trying not to over-organize, but I'm also a list maker, so I want to make sure we have the right amount of hot dogs. Last year we had to go get more hamburgers and hot dogs because it was such a success. We ordered more this year. So 4th to 7:30-ish. We're not going to start cooking till about 4:30, but please come and join the fun. People have signed up. The list to bring Rice Krispie cake and puff wheat cake is already full. So we know there will be treats that you need to have at any barbecue. What we need more than help at the time, because we know you'll step up then, we need 1 or ideally 2 barbecues that you might have a barbecue that's fairly easy to move. So we would appreciate it if people would talk to us if you have a barbecue. And what we're learning is Green Team take heart, but we don't have as many trucks as we used to have. So last year, Brian was great, and he volunteered his truck, and he went and picked up the parking cones from the travel company. Wayne's waving, he's got a truck. So Wayne, talk to Brian, and we will make that happen. And if you have a barbecue but need somebody with a truck to help get it here, let us know. That's awesome. So again, we look forward to seeing you, some of you here on Thursday, We look forward to the annual meeting and worship on Sunday and the volunteer appreciation. And we especially look forward to you coming for the barbecue on Tuesday afternoon. And just join in. There is going to be a bouncy castle, so it'll be huge fun. One announcement I almost forgot. We get the parking cones here. We're expecting the city is going to give us permission to close off through traffic down this one block of 17th. But it will be open for local traffic. So if mobility is a problem, still drive yourself or have someone drive you up. And if there isn't a nice spot to park your car, we'll have a parking valet help you with that so that you don't have to walk. Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, Betty. Bernie, you didn't want to say anything about the concert on Sunday? I see Catherine standing back there, and come on, brag a little. Come on. He's going to use the pulpit mic.
Well, we had an amazing concert, both for us that were here performing and hopefully for you that was out witnessing it. It felt very good, and compliments are still coming in. And I just want to say that you folks were extremely generous, a little bit more than other places. But I'll say it this way, that together with all the fundraising in April, I think that we have collectively raised probably very close to $9,000. So I think we all deserve it.
I can go now, rooted in divine love, ready to serve, ready to bear good fruit. May we make a home now where there is always room for one more. May we be empowered by the grace and the Spirit of Jesus. May we forgive others as we have been forgiven, as we seek to be community. And as we go with the community, with the power of the Spirit, may we be open to the stories of diversity, to those newcomers and refugees and immigrants all around us. And may we be open to thinking about our own story of immigration, or our own stories of family origins and origins of place, as we all seek to be here together on Turtle Island. May we serve in every need and in every place, empowered by the Spirit of Christ. Amen.